and talk with him. Let me tell you, there's some things that sometimes people do. Sometimes people are resentful and mad, and they carry bitterness in their heart.
Yes.
That bitterness will separate you from where God wants you to be.
Yes.
You need to embrace intimacy rather than bitterness. Yes. Don't let that stuff continue to be in your mind. Then sometimes people move from that bitterness to retaliating against the people that they're mad at. And all that does is make you sick, because you're always trying to figure out a plan to get them. And you never can get them like you want to get them. And so you got to realize that you can't be resentful, you can't retaliate, and then sometimes we talk too much. We're busy talking about it, and we need to stop talking about it. And we need to just let love come on in. See, the thing is, you can't continue to do what they do, because God has called you to love.
Yes.
He hasn't called you to be them. He's called you to be you. You can't hold that against somebody. You can't be mad at your family and just keep that in your heart. Don't be mad at them because they're mad at you. Don't do to them what they do to you. The fact is, Jesus said to love them that despitefully misuse you. He didn't say love them that love you. It's the folks that do you wrong that you really need to love.
Yes.
He says to love your neighbor as yourself. The fact is, Brother Mason, sometimes that's not easy, but that's what he's called us to. All this whole idea of trying to hold grudges and hold stuff against people, you know, why do it? My pastor said that there was a woman and a man, they were married together, and said the husband said that every time his wife gets mad, that what she does is she gets historical instead of hysterical. And what he meant by that is that every time they get into an argument, she brings up the past. She brings up the history and everything that they've ever gone through or everything he's ever done wrong. And to think that that's going to heal a marriage, that's not going to work. When you decide that you're going to forgive, I've heard people say, I forgive him, but I won't forget it. But as long as you continue to keep that in your heart and keep acting on your memories, then you're not embracing intimacy. You're embracing stuff that you've been through, and you're holding things against people. When in fact what you need to do is let all that mess go and be intimate with your family, be intimate in your relationships, embrace rather than to destroy. Don't be distracted by what the devil does to you to cause you to want to destroy the relationship and to divide yourself from your family. Think about Joseph, all that he had been through. Joseph had been, you know, as I told you last week, he had been in the pit. He had been in the prison. But he waited and allowed the Lord to take him to the palace.
Yes.
Joseph is kind of what we think of as a preface, so to speak. He gives us the prefiguration of what Jesus is to us. And that is the fact that sometimes if we're going to follow Christ, we must realize that you might end up having to go to the cross. The cross was not a wonderful place, but that is where they crucified him. And you know, they crucified him, and then not only did they crucify him, it got worse, they buried him. But thank God he rose. And so the question is, can you endure the test of relationships? Can you endure the test of family and wait until God restores the thing? Can you continue to love and to forgive in spite of what somebody else does to you?
Yes, sir.
Because if you can't, then you might have a problem with your form of Christianity. Some of us are so high on the horse in terms of what we believe and how good God has been to us, when in fact we can't follow the simplest rule that God has given us, and that is to love our neighbor as ourselves. No matter what they've done to you, he didn't say love them if they treat you right. He didn't say love them because they talk right. He didn't say love them because they call and check up on you. He didn't say love them, Sister Green, because they send you a little money every now and then. He didn't say love you because, Aunt Jack, I bring you some candy on Sunday. He didn't say that. He said love them. You love them whether they do anything for you or not. You love them even when they do you wrong. It is your job to love, and you're not the police of what they ought to do. Until you're able to deal with your own self, how can you deal with somebody else? And so we got to embrace that intimacy. But then look at verse 15, and I'll leave you all alone. I think I did enough amendments for today. Moreover, he kissed all of his brethren and he wept upon them. And after that, his brethren talked with him. You need to use your love language. Okay, so last Sunday I gave you something pragmatic and practical. I hope you had enjoyed your minute of silence every day this week.
Yes.
I know I enjoyed mine. I had more than a minute. I hope that you enjoyed writing down your 5 blessings last Sunday evening. I know that I came out with 5 blessings, and I wanted to write some more, but then I decided rather than to keep writing that I would just sit for a moment and focus on the 5 that I had.
Yes.
And as I looked at those five things that I wrote down last week, I was just overwhelmed with joy. And I sat at my desk for a moment, and I'm going to say I almost cried. I won't tell you that I did. But I just sat there and I thought about all that the Lord has done for me. And I'm so grateful that he has blessed me, that my blessings go way beyond the 5 things that I wrote on that paper. But the 5 things that I wrote on that paper caused me to be quite emotional, because I was just thinking he didn't have to do it, but he did. And I thought about how God has truly been a blessing to me. And that set a tone for my week that was unimaginable. I just hadn't thought about how good my week could be as I walked into it, not with a negative thought, but a very positive thing on my mind to think, you know, God has blessed you, man. And so every time I saw those little potholes through the week, I kept thinking about those 5 things that the Lord has blessed me with. And so I don't mind sharing, and I think over the next few weeks we probably at some point in time will begin to share some of those. But you know, one of the things that was top on my list was family. And you know, to be able to walk into the church and see so much family on Sunday morning, and to be so blessed to have so many wonderful people around you, and to know that there's love in the air, that's a blessing in and of itself. So this week, this last point, I want to give you something else that's very, very pragmatic and practical, so that you will have also that. There's a book by Gary Chapman that I read years ago. Matter of fact, I've read 2 of his books that talks about the 5 love languages. As a matter of fact, Brother David, will you help me?
C-H-A-T or P?
It is a Chapman with a P. You'll see it coming up. Will you take these for me? Yes. And just pass them out on this side. I better take one of them. Just so. Thank you. What this is, I'm giving you something very practical and pragmatic that you can incorporate in your life. You know, one of the things this year that I'm going to do this year that I've been interested in is to make sure that, now anybody that's been around me for a long period of time knows that in terms of preaching to the hype, I know how to do that. I've been trained in that. You know, I can preach to the hype. And what I mean by that is Brian could get on the organ and he could play in the E flat, and I could hit a range up there, you know, Jesus died. You know, we could do that. And then you leave and people say, well, Pastor Show didn't preach. What did he preach? I don't know.
Right.
You know, and then people cussing each other out the next week. And so my goal this year is to make certain that you have these practical, pragmatic things that you can do in your life to make your life better. Okay? I don't want you just to come here and get some information and leave. I need you to get some tools, that you got some stuff that you can go and use. Okay? So I'm hoping that as you left last week and you thought about those 5 things, I'm hoping that this week you had a better week just thinking about how God has blessed you. And I'm hoping that tonight you'll write down 5 more things and so on and so forth. I got me a book right behind me. But anyway, the next 5 things. And I'm hoping that that moment of silence helped you to calm down and to let some blood flow to your heart without you being so tense and tight, and gave you some time to be with God. So let me share something with you here. Use your love language. Notice that first, remember they were speechless. That was the point last week. The brothers didn't even know what to think. You know, somebody probably was about ready to fall out. You mean tell me we almost killed him, and here, this is really him. And we're trying to get food from him. He gonna kill us for sure, you know. What would you think if somebody who you thought you left for dead actually reappeared years later? that right there would be one of them, I know what you did last summer kind of moments, you know? And so here they got the brother and they're speechless. And then notice there's some other moments here where he's crying. We talked about that last week, not being afraid to just be tearful. This week we see that he hugs one brother, then he hugs the other brothers. And so these are these speechless moments. He's communicating, but he's not speaking. And sometimes our most powerful communication is when we're not speaking. Because sometimes when we speak, we mess it up. I used to not understand why older people that are married, you know, Kelly and I will go out to dinner and you see older people married and they'll eat and not say a word. And they'll just be sitting there eating. But what has happened is most of the time their relationship has become so solidified that they don't really even have to say anything. Because their language is no longer just spoken. And they can speak without opening their mouth. And so there are other ways to have love language. So here's 5 love languages. One is an act of service. Just simply doing something for somebody else. Wouldn't it be amazing if you had, you know, a list of the ways that God bless you? Now I know some people don't like all these lists, but I tell you, a list can help you. The Bible actually says that you need a vision. You need to make that plain. But not only do you need a plain vision, you need to write it down. You know, one of the reasons, and I just kind of tell you this, you know, one of the reasons that some, and I ain't going to say us. No, I'm not say us to include us all, because I'm not broke. But I'm going to say some of y'all, you're broke because you don't have a budget. That's written. You write checks, you don't enter it into the registry, you just, well, I think I got enough. And then when the bank sends you a note, that's when you know you don't have enough. If you would write a budget down and actually take some time to think about that and plan it out, you'd find out that you have more money. Just, yeah, Pastor give you that for free. So wouldn't it be amazing if we had a list of things, okay, God blessed me with this. But then what if you, not so that you could tell somebody else, not prideful, not boastful, not sharing it with somebody, but what if you held yourself accountable for at least one act of service a week? Just an act of kindness. Whether that is to put money in somebody's meeting, whether that is to, you know, call somebody that, you know, has been sick for a while, or to go by a nursing home or something like that, you know. What if you did something, you know, you just said, hey, I'm going to do something kind for somebody, even if they're in your family. Because see, some of y'all mean to the people in your family too. So even if they're in your family, but just to say, you know what, I'm going to do an act of service. This is my act of service. A love language sometimes is touch, not inappropriate touch and not always sexual touch. But it means that sometimes, you know, I'm not a touchy-feely person. It's not touchy-feely. But you know what? Every so often, it's important. You know? Sometimes I will come in, my wife in the kitchen, I just hold my wife in the kitchen. Now, part of that because I love it when she's in the kitchen. But sometimes you do actually have, there's a language, there's nothing to be said. It's just a hug. Quality time. Not just running by, but stopping to actually hear. You know. My grandchildren teach me this. This is something you learn from you. When you get older, you learn that from your grandkids. Because they'll be telling you something, and you got to listen. You know. You got to listen. They're telling you things. And sometimes Journey's telling me things I don't even know what she's telling me. But she'll be telling me. And I had to sit and listen. And I had to tell her, yeah, I guess. But she understands that she's talking to a Papa. You got to have some quality time. And that is a part of the language that tells a person that you care about them. Is that you're not just running by. And then my grandmother's favorite, if you love me, something should be in your hand. No, every now and then a gift. And a thoughtful gift. Because see, now you make me mad when you come in. People have that old saying, they say, It's the thought that counts. And sometimes I think, well, you didn't think much. But a gift, sometimes you need to give. And so these are some things that you can think about. And then words of affection. Talk nice. Because if you talk nice, it can open so many doors. If you stop being so mean and so surly. Because part of the reason that they never give you no break on your food, never give you, matter of fact, don't tell me how much spit you done ate. I know it's gross, but you need to hear it. Because some of y'all fussing all the time at that waitress. And she probably back there scratching her behind everything and just twirling it in your soup. Because you mean. When I go to Olive Garden, I want extra olives in my salad. So I'm going to be nice. How are you today? Kelly says I'm flirting. No, I'm being nice. Because when you're nice, people do stuff for you.
Yes.
They upgrade you from the 12 ounce to the 16 ounce at no extra cost. They upgrade you from the compact to the lunch. You know what? We got an extra mid-size. We'll just give this to you at no cost. You got to be nice. When you use the right language and when you say the right things, and when you're kind to people, it's amazing what happens in your life. And so you need to be kind. Do you know that you don't have to cuss your children out? You know that? You know you don't have to cuss your children out. I'm quicker to hit you than to cuss you out. To get you to do what I need you to do. Because at least I'm going to get some results. See, sometimes you have to knock them back so they can remember what you said. You forgot what I said, didn't you? Let me knock you back into the last moment. But when you're nice, it's been proven. Any of the school teachers in here can tell you it's proven that you can almost get an elementary school child to jump through a window if you tell him that he's doing a good job doing it. I bet you'll look so great jumping through that window. They'll jump straight through the window. And after they jump through the window, you tell them, that was a great job. They'll jump through the next window. We have to work on our language and the way we say things. If you call yourself a witch with a B, if that's what you call your wife, after a while, that's what she'll be. If you talk down to your husband and call him a good for nothing and so on and so forth, and the man next door is better than you, eventually you'll have to call the man next door. If you talk down to your children, why are you so dumb, why are you so stupid, why are you so lazy, why are you so this? That's what you're making, that's what you're creating. You're calling them into existence. But if you want them to be better, then you need to use a better language. And so here are 5 love languages that you can use, that you can also see in this particular text and passage. And so church, we need to restore the family. And we need to restore it through the love of God.